Good morning. This is Lisa DeMonte with MyLegal.com, and we are here for the first day of the Masters Conference on October 4th, 2010 at the Ronald Reagan Building here in Washington, D.C. And our guest this morning is Alan Tse, who is the Vice President and General Counsel of LG Electronics Mobilcom USA. Welcome, Alan. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Alan, you just finished a conversation in the keynote with Dan Regard of IDS. And you mentioned that 5 years ago, electronic discovery didn't even exist. What changes have been made internally at LG to address the explosion of e-discovery?
Well, what we did was we actually took a look at all of our systems. And first we started with data map. We operate in over 180 countries with 90,000 people. So trying to figure out where we stored information in every one of these places for every one of our employees was something that we needed to get a handle on. So we did that, and once we got that information, we figured out what we needed to do with it. So the solution that we ended up with was to try to put as much of it in a centralized location as possible so that people can just access it from their computers, from their phones, from whatever device they want, but the information is centralized so it's controllable. So I know where it is, I can get access to it, I know that things won't get deleted unless I say that they do. That's one of the initiatives that we try to put in place.
What a huge undertaking. I can't even imagine trying to pull all that information together into one source. Alan, you described LG as an aggressive adopter of cloud computing. Tell us some of the things that LG has done to allow its employees to be more productive.
I think some of the things that we just talked about, but in terms of making a business case for that, I think that the biggest, you said there was a large undertaking, but if we didn't undertake it, it was a larger business problem that we were facing. We had all this information that we create all the time, and they're in so many places, and our employees are even having trouble figuring out which system had which information. So having it all be in centralized places where people can access it from their phone, essentially from their smartphone that we sell, and then go please and go out and buy more of our products. But from that perspective, from our sales force, from our marketing people, everyone down the line being able to access that from their laptop, from their phone, so that they're untethered from their desktop. I think it's very important.
Alan, you mentioned the use of smartphones, and obviously it seems to be a huge problem all across the world that employees are using their business devices for both business and personal. So that can be a problem for the corporate GC office. How is LG handling that?
I think I have a pretty unique perspective being in a company that sells these smartphones. We don't look at it obviously as a problem. We look at it as a business opportunity because that's what we're trying to sell. We're trying to sell a device that people can do everything on, their personal business. And the reality is that people are not carrying two phones. Some people are, but most people are not. They're not going to segregate, no matter what I say, no matter what policies I put in place. And they're just not going to segregate their use, and it just doesn't make sense. So therefore, understanding that usage, and again, I have a pretty unique perspective in that I see the data from all consumers, not just within my company, but all consumers, and that is how they're using it. They're using one device for everything. So therefore, my job is not to change their behavior, but is to make sure that, given that that's how they're using it, how can I still make it work?
Great way to handle it for sure. Alan, one final question. You mentioned that LG has moved to one vendor for all electronic discovery work in the U.S. How is that working out, and what are some of the benefits that you're feeling as a result of making that selection of just one vendor in the US?
It works a lot better. First of all, I have one phone number to call instead of trying to figure out who's the vendor for this particular case. And then from a cost perspective, first of all, we have all the volume in one, so we're able to drive discounts. But at the same time, we use, instead of paying a law firm $300-400 an hour to review documents, we're paying these guys a fixed cost that I have a handle on. And it's a lot of cases. It's at least 100 times less than what I was paying, and probably more than that, because we do it from a per document basis. So we're definitely saving the neighborhood of 90+% on what we were spending on e-discovery prior to going down that path.
Wow, very exciting. Alan, thank you so much for sharing all of this information and the great insight that you discussed this morning with Dan Regard. Again, Alan Tse from LG, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.